Double Tap here with John Fitzen and Mitch Velos, our wonderful law counselor.
Yeah, he's gonna save my ass one day.
Knowing you.
Hey,
yeah.
But God, you want another bump on your head?
Hey, you know what?
Oh wait, there's a lawyer here.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for this. I'm waiting for an assault.
Right?
And then I'll give her a card.
Well, hey, Mitch, you've been writing books for God. How long? When did you write the first one?
1998.
Yeah. And you guys, this is really important. I know you guys love knives and all this. This is going to teach you about our laws, in Utah and all over the United States.
Yeah, we're talking about weapons laws.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't just relate to guns.
Yeah,
Right.
It's anybody that's defending themselves with a
Exactly.
weapon. That's important to know, and that's why we write about it. And our approach to it is to make it simple.
And it really is. I've said on his seminars. By the way, if you guys want a seminar, let's say you live in California, you guys live in Illinois or something like that, and you guys got like 20, 30 people, around
50.
Yeah, around more into that area. We would be happy to fly out and do a thing. And Mitch's seminar is great. I learn so much every time I go, and I'm in awe. And how simple it is.
We've got one cooking now. If you got some people out there, got one cooking in western Pennsylvania.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you guys could go on. Randy will put on the thing about how to get a hold.
He's
to find
linked.
out.
He's linked to our homepage.
Yeah, cool. It's cool. So let's talk about the book a little bit. Let's talk about the laws that just were passed.
All right. Yeah.
And I know Double Tap is in awe of you.
I am.
Double Tap is a very smart lady. I am so impressed with the way that she understands discussions about government, about law, about weapons. I mean, at her age, as young as she is, just pushing, 20.
I love this man.
She is a smart cookie, and I'll tell you, she could be a good example for other women who should be interested in finding out how to protect themselves.
I agree. Well, information is power. You need to know your rights and how to protect yourself. Even in a self-defense situation, you need to know what your rights actually are for that.
And you know how political she's got on her Facebook. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I have opinions. I voice them.
Yeah, and she's learned so fast. It's just stunned me. But anyway, let's talk about the law well, Mitch, you lead off. What do you want to talk about?
Well, maybe just a little background to help people understand where we're coming from. I mean, when I started to get into the interest in the guns and the Constitution, the first thing that occurred to me was that a lot of the language is just not understandable by non-lawyers. So we came up with a term called plain talk summaries, and we started out with the Utah book. This is a 4th edition, and we took all of Utah's weapons laws, put them in one book, and then we had these plain talk summaries, which not only tell you what the law says, but we have charts and graphs to show or to explain to you in a simple way how all these laws interrelate. For example, we have a chart in there that talks about how the ages at which young people can possess a firearm, can buy a firearm at age, can buy a handgun versus a rifle. It's all in a chart. And it's not understandable. I mean, you just read the laws themselves. Unless you're looking at a chart and see how it all relates, it's not understandable. Yeah, I had to put it together. So we made it very simple that way. And then after I tried and won the Super Del Shanzi self-defense case, we did the research for his case and found that other states were lacking in their self-defense laws. And so we wrote a book. This is our first edition called The Self-Defense Laws of All 50 States. And it has several subchapters that talk about the rules of self-defense and the hidden legal traps that I see in the courtroom all the time. I see instructors, concealed weapons instructors that are making mistakes and ending up in court being charged with serious crimes. And so we've purposely tried to simplify it so that anybody that buys our book can easily understand what those hidden legal traps are and avoid them.
Well, I carry one in my car, and there's some things that if I got pulled over, I had a guy come into my shop. He had a switchblade, and he had it in between his seat, and the cops busted him for the switchblade. and the judge busted him. What is with that?
Well, that's the thing.
That's
We have a switchblade chapter. It's in the federal chapter, but that's right. Switchblades are limited to soldiers and police officers and one-armed men.
Really?
But
Yeah.
not in Utah.
Yeah.
In Utah, you can carry. Anybody could carry a switchblade. That's what I've on this other.
If you bought it in Utah, it was totally an intrastate transaction.
Okay.
But if you're selling it or you're transferring it in interstate commerce, that's where you
That's
run
when
into
it
problems. Yeah. So.
Well, they busted him with, but it's funny. You know, I'll tell you guys, and I'll tell you, Mitch. It was kind of funny. I just got a ticket for the guy said I wasn't signaling so we went. I went to court. Yeah, and my daughter he goes, Daddy, you signaled. We tried to tell the police officer all this other stuff. Go in there, and I go in, and they wrote me a ticket, a warning, and I go in to talk to the prosecutor, and you know, that's what the judge told me to do. And I said, look, I'm going to fight this signaling. I know I signal. I want to see the camera. And he goes, well, if you do this, we're going to give you a ticket for speeding. You know, but it's funny in guns, in knives, in different stuff, how cops and different stuff, a lot of them don't know the laws.
That's true.
They'll just do things, you know, and just like the lawyer, there's no way he should have done that to me. That was, don't you think?
Well, that's why everyone needs to know their rights.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
But what do I
information is
do?
power,
I mean,
especially
you
when
know,
you get pulled over.
Yeah, so the thing is, but Utah.
I have a question for Mitch.
Okay, cool.
How do you feel?
That's Aleco, by the way, you guys.
How do you feel about Utah not having a shooting portion of our concealed weapons classes? And to me, there's a positive and negative attached to that. Personally, I believe everyone has a right to carry a gun, period, as long as, even in some instances, even felons, because there are a lot of trumped up things. But how do you feel about that? Do you think there's a validity for the liability to teach people to shoot, or do you see no need for the shooting requirement?
He's talking about the shooting part. 'Cause the
Yeah.
mic's over here.
Well, it's. I agree with John Lott, the economist from the University of Chicago, who wrote the book More Guns, Less Crime. The more restrictions you place on gun ownership and gun possession, the fewer people are going to carry. And the fewer people that are carrying, somehow the criminal element has an ear in tune with that. And so the more people you have carrying, the less your violent crime rates are, and the lower your murder rates are. So I tend to say, yes, it would be nice to go to the range, and we encourage people to go to the range on their own, because you are liable for that bullet that comes out of the end of your barrel. But if you get the training that's offered, the use of the law of deadly force, that's what really keeps you out of trouble. So I just don't see any reason to require additional training at a range before you get a concealed weapons permit.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was just, I think
Well,
it's
see,
funny.
the thing is, I think the only reason we should do shooting, so we can be, what do you call it, how do you say that?
Oh, reciprocity.
With Las
With other
Vegas.
states,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the only thing that's holding us back.
You know, though, as sort of an additional follow-up, though, I believe that we should have a continuing education class is way more important than shooting for concealed weapons holders. And that's why your book's so important, Mitch.
Yeah.
Is because we don't have the most up-to-date laws. You've got guys who have had concealed weapons licenses forever. And, you know, I do think there should be a continuing education, but in lieu of that, we do have your book. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a pleasure to do it. I mean, it helps me to keep up to date on the laws. I enjoy writing, and we enjoy not only our plain talk summaries, but Pancho's wisdom, which is the entertainment portion of the book. And for some reason, that keeps me happy. So, and it also is the medicine or it's the sweetness that allows the medicine to go down easily, like Mary Popham.
Right.
Mary
That's the
Popham.
sugar.
Mary Popham said.
Popham.
Well,
It's that teaspoon of sugar.
Right, the teaspoon.
A spoon's full of sugar. Yeah.
what is it? What just passed here in Utah? What is it on the we can carry concealed?
Well, Utah just entered an epic era of what we call constitutional carry. So now in Utah, you're not required to have a concealed weapons permit to carry a firearm concealed. The only drawback is that you cannot, unless you have a concealed weapons permit, the firearm needs to be unloaded. Yeah. Now, in a cowboy state like Utah, you know, we are the crossroads of the West, incidentally. Unloaded means you can have a loaded magazine in the gun, just as long as you don't have a bullet in the chamber. Yeah.
Did you hear why they did this?
Oh, I think it was a concession.
It was actually no. There was a case of a guy in Uintas in the mountains up in Utah who was riding with his horse and had his shotgun on his horse, but it was covered with a blanket, and he actually got cited for having
a concealed. Okay.
concealed
That's why we went to
weapon.
concealed carry.
Yes.
I thought you were asking me why we had the
concealed
unloaded
carried,
requirement. Yeah.
because-
The horse have got the citation?
But yeah, they cited him for having a concealed weapon.
Yeah, and I've had cases where a man had, I've had several cases. I had one where a gun was on the, what's that little hump called on your truck?
The console.
Yeah, it's not the console, but it was on the hump in front of the console, but it was in plain sight, you know.
Yeah.
And they cited him for a concealed weapon. I got him off,
Really?
but he had to pay attorney's fees, which is not the worst thing in the world, right?
No,
I mean,
of course
it's a high civic
Keeps you in
duty
business.
for most citizens to be able to pay attorney's fees. You know, you're contributing to the lawyer's economic stimulus package, lawyers' wives' economic stimulus.
Now, if somebody comes into Utah, they can carry concealed with one in the chamber, right?
Yeah, I think as long as they're 21 and they can possess a firearm.
So it's not that they have to actually buy the gun in Utah, keep it in Utah. If they come from, you know, like Wyoming, and they have a gun from Wyoming, and they have it concealed, as long as it's not in the chamber, it still
Yeah,
applies to them, right?
And I wish I'd read. I've been trying to read all of these. You know, last night at 12 p.m. was
Yeah,
the
that's when
last.
they did it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So and none of these have been signed by the governor, incidentally. So you don't
Yeah, and then what do you think
don't
he's
do. Stay tuned. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll take another closer look. But it's my understanding with constitutional carry, anybody can carry as long as you have the legal right to have a firearm on your possession or a weapon. Utah has a strong weapons law in addition to the federal law. Federal law says if you're a felon or you're a user of drugs or you've been convicted of domestic violence misdemeanor, you can't carry a firearm. But you can carry, under federal law, you could carry like a muzzle loader, a
Yeah.
pistol,
Yeah, we
right?
talked
Navy
about-
pistol.
yeah.
But under Utah law, which is even more strict, and we need to fix this someday, you can't carry a deadly weapon if you're a felon.
But a boot can be a deadly weapon. Like I told you, I could take off my boot and beat somebody to death. with
The
my
rock right
boot.
next to you on the ground could be a deadly
But
weapon.
if you look in our book, Gun Law 4, in the weapons chapter, you'll find that it's not just whether or not it can be used as a deadly weapon; it's how it was used.
Okay, good.
So if you're beating someone to death with a combat boot that has a metal
Steel toe boot.
steel toe boot, and the guy's got brain damage, that's a deadly weapon.
Hey, your book could be a deadly
My
weapon.
book,
Right.
You can use actually-
All those paper cuts, watch
There's a
out.
way to use a book.
yeah,
for,
2 pounds.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people ask me, and clarify this, if you have a concealed weapons permit in Utah, can you carry open carry loaded?
Yes. Yes, that's the way I read it. Now, unfortunately,
yes.
unfortunately, a lot of law enforcement agencies don't understand that.
Yeah.
When I've actually sat down with them and explained it to them, they get it. But it takes a while for them to get it. So you're likely to get charged. I usually can get these people off, you know. But
But if you carry your book, you have a thing in here on that, right?
yeah, you should be carrying
Yeah.
my book concealed.
That's why I
if you're
have-
carrying a concealed weapon, you should be carrying my book
But
concealed
sometimes
as well.
I carry, and the cops know me here, a lot of the cops, and I'll carry openly sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, especially around my shop, I'm out there doing stuff.
Well, here's
Cops
the
will
problem.
go by and wave at me, you know.
Let me tell you the problem. We do have a disorderly conduct statute, and the legislature attempted to pass that and said if you're not doing anything but just carrying openly, that's not going to be disorderly conduct. Well, it didn't pass this legislative session. So that's going to embolden some law enforcement agencies like the University of Utah campus police that have been really hard on this open carry thing. And so you may get ticketed for disorderly conduct if you're open carry in a mall, or you go walking through Trolley Square, where we had this terrible shooting, or you go walking at the university after you have a shooting like Sandy Hook. There's a chance you could get charged with disorderly conduct. So,
well, guys, that's just one part. We're gonna talk to Mitch about some other stuff, and so we're gonna go to viewer email, and we
Stay tuned to make sure you keep your information current.
Yeah, wait till you hear some of this next stuff. This is kind of just the introductory, so keep your edges sharp, your powder dry.